AM. Roger.
Good afternoon. So we made it, almost. So I guess I'm the only thing standing between you and the rest of your holiday weekend. So let myself introduce myself. So I'm your MC and speaker. This will be a little different. This is going to be a little more informal. I kind of want to talk with you all about some of the things that are going on within NSS, and but let me do a few more shout-outs before we wrap up the conference. Louisa, could you stand, please? Louisa, right here. Has been helping us with our operations. Matt Canello, where's Matt? Where's Matt? Oh, he left. Yeah, he's probably out there herding more cats. Matt was a great volunteer for us. You know, I didn't recognize Johan, but I'd like to recognize Johan and Ronnie. Can you stand, please? Both of these gentlemen did all of our IT stuff. They got the ISDC website up to speed, and as we had new sponsors and partners come in, they updated the website in a real-time fashion. Josh, your cousin, I understand, left, but he did some good volunteering for us, Fred Kramer. I also like to acknowledge Catherine Brick, the editor of Ad Astra. She's been a long-time editor. And you'll notice that she's the editor, not the associate editor. We had a title change for her, and she's been doing great work for us for Ad Astra, and we appreciate her. And Mark Ward. Mark's right here at the head table. Mark came up from Florida and helped us with Scott Carpenter. Mark and I are both part of a group called the C-Space Symposium, and as it's Scott Carpenter, and so Mark helped us with Scott and has helped us with a number of other things from PR, media, and been helping out Deb a lot. Just a couple of administrivia things. Today is Memorial Day, so there are a lot of street closures. I know there were some parades. So if you are going to the airport, I'll build that into your time. And I know it's hot out there. But you know, let's not forget what this day is about. Memorial Day. Take some time. Walk up and down the mall. Go see the memorials. You can probably see them all within about an hour. You can see World War II, Korea, and Vietnam all within about 45 minutes. You'd have to look a little harder, but there is a World War I memorial. It's a little bit off the mall. And if you have a little bit extra time, go out to Arlington. But just take a moment and pause and recognize what this day is all about. So, as I said, I want to talk a little bit about the NSS. I've had the opportunity to brief the Board of Governors and brief our Board of Directors during our Board of Directors meeting and just sort of give them a little bit of a state of the NSS. So I figured today is a good opportunity to brief you, the members, and the soon-to-be members, if you're not members. I'm sure you're all going to join. You know, we started off the year, and a lot of the space advocacy groups have been running into some headwinds. You know, the recession's affecting everyone. There's changes in the way that we communicate, and to try and get folks to come on to membership organizations has become a little more challenging. So we started the year, and you know, we said we're going to make this full court press to really bring the organization back up to, you know, some of the stuff that we talked about in the Heritage Panel. You could see that the organization kind of went from different levels over periods of time. So, you know, that's the commitment and the challenge that we've made. Fundraising becomes a high priority for us, and that's a high priority for me, and obviously it was a high priority for the conference here. And but looking beyond the conference, you know, we're going to do more things with some of our corporate members. Obviously, we have an ongoing drive to bring in new individual members, but we're going to try and balance that a little bit with some corporate participation as well. Excuse me. We're trying to get out in front of a lot of these policy issues. You see things that come out, and hopefully you've seen the NSS reacting in the form of press releases and things of that nature. And a lot of these things I say are kind of, there's like a line drawn pre-ISDC and post-ISDC, and there's a whole stack of things sitting on the desk for tomorrow, post-ISDC. And so you're going to see us, I alluded to this last night, you're going to see us start to get down into the trenches on some of the issues that are going on right now, specifically with commercial crew and with the space technology line through the Office of the Chief Technologist. So we're going to try and get more involved in that and back to the influential role that we've had. We want to be more visible to the space community. That's sort of a given. I think you know, the gala the other night was sort of a natural. It was sort of a natural thing being here in D.C., but it was something to bring the space community together in a place that everyone could associate with. I like to say we need to break out of the echo chamber. And you've probably heard me say this before, that, you know, I'll stand up here and give a speech, you'll listen, and the next month I'll be at your conference, you stand up and I listen. And, you know, it's great when we talk to each other, but I think more importantly is trying to break out into the mainstream, bringing in members who are, you know, maybe they don't know what they're getting into, you know, the uninitiated in space. I mean, somebody who doesn't know anything about space, and make them smart about space. And I've always said that, you know, we need to have incentives for members who can bring in folks who are the uninitiated and bring them in. And so we'll be looking at some incentive programs in that respect. You saw the video of the Colbert Report. That was another opportunity for us to really touch the mainstream. That was about 4 minutes and 36 seconds, that one little bit. And then there was a bit right at the closing of the show. But, you know, we probably reached several million people in that little four-minute bit, and they saw that logo. But with any branding, they need to see the logo again. They need to see it again, and your subconscious needs to pick up on it. It's, you know, you just need to have this ubiquitous presence. So that is, you know, that's an example of what we're trying to do, and trying to do more things in the mainstream. So let me talk about a couple of the highlights so far this year, and I'm just going to go through these real quick because what I want to do is allow you guys to do some question and answer, or just leave if you want, because we are at the tail end here. So our Blitz, there's Rick Zucker, once again this year, ran our Blitz up on Capitol Hill. Over 32 volunteers and conducted over 100 meetings with members and staff, and that's important when you get a meeting with a member. That's not an insignificant thing. You know, there's different tiers of staff that you can get meetings with, and I know that Rick has been getting more and more members and more principal, the professional staff, as opposed to, you know, some of the younger staffers who you know, just kind of sit there and nod their head and then show you to the door. But I think they've been very effective over these years. The NSS is still the recognized space advocacy group. I can say that because I was on the other side for a year, and you know, I know the organizations that they're sort of dismissed outright before they even get in the door, and they will, you know, they'll get a meeting and people will nod their heads, and then it's like in one out, and out the other, and that's not the case with the NSS, and that's, you know, a testament to a lot of the work that Rick has done and with his volunteers. And see Rick, yes, please. And see Rick if you're interested. If you're interested in policy issues, if you've really got a burning thing that you think needs to be done or needs to be done differently, or you need a voice to be heard, you know, act locally in your community. Reach out to your representative. But if you want to come to Washington D.C. and if you want to go and see what it's all about, you know, go see where all the members work and how their staffs work. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool to go up there on the Hill and back and forth between the House and the Senate, and you do it in March, so it's not, you know, like pouring sweat like doing it today. But see Rick if you're interested in something like that. So the ISDC, you know, this is our first conference, as I mentioned, in DC since 2008. What I wrote down here when I wrote this was where the projections were over 800 attendees, and So I guess it was yesterday morning, we said we were at 925, so I suspect we're a little bit, a couple of, and that's, again, that's a testament to this team. We had some, we had some changes that we made in the fall. We had some challenges we had to work through. So at the turn of the year, this team really had to start from really kind of a dead stop to bring this conference together, and it's amazing. And that's why I made that note last night about the 2008 conference, the last time that we were in D.C. And I don't know if we mentioned last night, but Josh was the chair of 2008 as well. So he broke his own record, and now he's setting himself up for another chair position. But that's something that we were really proud of, and I made sure that Brett knew that too. Where is Brett? I saw Brett in here somewhere. Brett Silcox. Brett's our former associate director, and I told him that we eked out his number by about that much this year. And of course, the ISDC is, it doesn't. We don't run this thing on excitement and good wishes alone. It does require substantial financial support, and that comes through your attendance and through the meals, through some sponsorships for meals and for the conference. So that's very important to us. You can support us again next year by coming and attending. You can also support us by helping us with, if you have any ideas on how we can raise funds for things like this. There's no monopoly on good ideas. We're always looking for ideas, and we're always looking for support. And when we get that support, we can do things like what we did at the Air and Space Museum the other night. We had to exercise some due diligence on that decision because it was not an insignificant cash outlay for that. But I think we'll agree that it was a good thing to do, both in a tangible and a symbolic and sort of an emotional thing as well. So really enjoyed that. You saw our awards dinner last night. We recognized a lot of folks with a variety of awards. A couple of highlights that we talked about. At the gala the other night, we showed the video of the presentation of the award to Stephen Hawking down in Texas. That award is actually voted upon by you, the members. It's not chosen by us at headquarters. And so Dr. Hawking was head and shoulders above the number two candidate. And again, that was a distinct privilege for me personally and for the society to be able to recognize really what I call one of the greatest minds of our time. I touched on the Colbert piece, which was really fun. John Strickland sent the award to headquarters. I got it. It was in a box. Jumped on the train, went up to New York, and went over, met Buzz, and then we got to act like VIPs for about an hour or so because Buzz had the car and the whole red carpet treatment, and I was walking along with the award in the box, but got to go onto Colbert's set as he was doing the run through, and the people in the audience were all the writers, and they were just kind of critiquing him, and as he was getting ready, and he looked up and he was like, "Buzz Aldrin's in the house," and he got up and ran behind the desk and came over and chatted with Buzz, and then did a run through, and then we got to see the real thing. If you have the chance, go onto their website and watch it again, and watch the length of the applause for Buzz. That's one of the longest bits of applause that I've seen. People were fired up to see Buzz because they didn't know he was coming out, so it was pretty cool. He just opened up the side door, and here comes Buzz. And Larry Ahern mentioned yesterday that he saw the award on the set of Colbert. I've been looking for it. I've been actually pausing the TV and looking around to see if it's on the mantle. But yeah.
When they're supposed to come back this week.
Okay.
And look where it's on they got a big fireplace, and he's got his Emmy and his Peabody up there, and on this side there's the globe. Unless they rearrange it while they're off, I don't know. But that it was just before he left, it was there.
If they put that up there, that's where, like you said, that's where the real preeminent, the Emmy and the Peabody, or if he put it up there, that's pretty cool. And again, that's great visibility for us. Another visible example, so my last meeting with Elon over at SpaceX, Elon Musk and his president, Gwen Shotwell, I think I saw them last out in Hawthorne, I think February. So you walk in, I mean, the SpaceX facility is an old 747 processing plant, really, really huge space. So you walk in there and there's you guys have been there before, you guys have seen it. It's you know, it's kind of a slick sort of Silicon Valley feel lobby there with cool white furniture and stuff, very, very sparse. And then you walk in further and there's the Cube farm and then of course the factory floor where all the dreams come true, you know, making dragons and rocket engines and stuff. But in that lobby, you have to turn to the right to check in with the receptionist. And as you're standing here talking to the receptionist, there's a little cutout in the desk, and right there is the Von Braun Award that was given to Musk, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, and it says, "On behalf of the National Space Society." So he's got that right there, and you cannot miss it, because when you come check in, you have to, you know, you kind of look at it. It's really cool. It's got the old Von Braun rockets, and also, that's another cool thing that I saw this year. As I mentioned, we're trying to be much more responsive to key events with press releases, and Lynn Zielinski's been very helpful in that, and lately Deb with ISDC stuff. You know, that's our role. We have to, when things happen, we really do need to respond to them. Our last press release was a couple days ago. We acknowledged the berthing at the station of the Dragon space vehicle. And so we'll have more of those things. I mean, we try to be as responsive as we can. Sometimes we're pulled in a few different directions, but certainly a lot of the things that are going on the Hill right now, we need to be right on top of things and saying, you know, we don't support that, or this is a good thing. So you'll start seeing more of that. We're also trying to do more interviews. We've done a few in some of the space periodicals, a couple of video interviews. And we're trying to break out into some more mainstream stuff. So looking forward, workshop, yeah, I just jotted that down, the workshop. So I mentioned that last night, a little more detail on that. So we were trying to figure out what we were going to do for Thursday, because that's normally the Space Investment Summit, and they moved into the conference. So we were hedging off that day for some programming that would, you know, be a number of different things. It would be relevant. It would allow NSS to get in front of a particular issue. It would also be an opportunity for additional fundraising. So we looked at what's going on in the budget right now with space technology. You know, NASA has this new office called the Office of the Chief Technologist. Garver, Lori talked about that last night. That was a big part of the president's budget request back in 2010. And since then, it's been whittled away and whittled away and whittled away, because a lot of money goes into the big programs, and that's one of the things that we've taken a strong stand on. We don't want to see money siphoned away for some of these important things that are just smaller amounts of money, and they don't make a big difference when you move it over to the big program, but when you take it away from the smaller one, it has, you know, a huge difference. And so what OCT is doing, they're doing things that I call mission multipliers. They're trying to advance specific technologies that can help us do things better, and most of them are in-space technologies. So they've got a couple of things. They're doing a cryogenic propellant storage and transfer study, and a solar electric propulsion study. So there's some certain events that are going on specifically with the cryo stuff right now, that the timing was pretty good to do some sort of an event with that. So I was out on the road talking to industry. I was talking to NASA. I was talking to folks on the Hill, and it resonated with everyone. They were like, yeah, this would an exchange on this topic would be very useful to us. And I made sure that everyone knew that it was an NSS facilitated event. They didn't own it. We were just asking them to come and talk to each other. And sometimes you have to provide that cover for, you know, companies and for, you know, the government especially. But it was an NSS facilitated event. It was a great exchange. I mentioned last night who the attendees were. You know, industry. The chief technologist himself came. The deputy center director from NASA, Glenn, was there, and, you know, a handful of companies and staffers from the Hill. So was a great exchange. We went back and forth for about 3 or 4 hours. We took, about 24 pages of notes. Nikki was busily typing away, as was Brad. So we're going to write that up into a conference, or into a workshop report, once we kind of gel all that stuff together, and that'll be a tangible product of what the NSS can and should be doing. So look to see us doing more of those. I think we got enough favorable feedback from folks that I think we could probably do another one on solar electric propulsion in the near term, maybe within the next 6 to 9 months, but we'll have to look at it. So looking forward, the fundraising campaign continues. The first half of the year, really, all the fundraising campaign really was kind of steered towards ISDC. Now the back half of the year, we're going to continue membership drives. We're also going to stand up our corporate council again, and that's where we can get buy-in and support from folks across industry, endowments, grants, all those types of things. And with it being on the back half of the year, that's really when you should be doing all your fundraising anyway, because that's when everyone's building their budgets. So we'll be able to do that at the same time that we're building support for ISDC 2013. Our space settlement contest will continue. I look forward to seeing great things again next year from the students. The Space Ambassador Program that's going to move to 2013, and we're going to put some dedicated leadership on that one, and I think we're going to see a much improved product there over the next 12 months. So 2013 will be a good year to celebrate that program. This fall we go into our board elections. Actually, our board elections are going on right now. If you've seen the current copy of Ad Astra, they've got the candidate statements and a ballot. Those ballots that we expect will start coming in, and we'll wrap them up, around July? What's the deadline for it, Denise? August 1st, okay. So we'll have hopefully a new batch of energetic board members that we'll be able to welcome in the fall board meeting. We'll also be doing officer assignments within new officer assignments within the leadership of NSS. Of course, the Blitz 2013, as I mentioned, Rick is probably already starting to think about it. It's not too far away, about 9 months now. And then, of course, ISDC 2013. I've only had an opportunity to talk to Dave on the phone, and still haven't really sat down with him. But I can tell he's a real energetic guy, and we're really excited and looking forward to what he's going to provide for us in San Diego. That's going to be fun. And of course, we are looking for new partnerships as well, not only within the space community, but again in the mainstream. There's some pretty interesting meetings I've got lined up over the summer. So I hope you all will start seeing some of these partnerships coming out over the next several months. So that's kind of a list of the stuff that we're doing. Kind of tie it all together. I really see great things for our organization. Really the sky is the limit. We can do as much as we want with the right commitments and the right level of support and effort. And I really think it's a fortuitous opportunity right now, as we saw with Dragon the other day. I still haven't kind of fallen back and actually taken in all the press on that, but I think that everybody, mainstream space community, I think everybody feels this sense of a milestone was met, maybe a corner was turned, maybe we're at a tipping point, or we're getting really, really close. Those in the room are probably all of the same mind as I am, true believers that we knew that this was coming. It was just a matter of when, not if. But I think we're there, and I think we need to seize these opportunities right now. This is a really, really good opportunity for the NSS to really step up and really regain that position of prominence and even look beyond that. So I appreciate it, and I really appreciate serving. This has been a really interesting last 6 months now. I couldn't think of any better way to cap it off than this conference and how well it's gone. And I continue to give all the credit to the team. But again, it's a tangible but very, very symbolic victory for us. So I appreciate you all being here and sticking it out with us. I'll take some questions as long as you guys want to stick around. We're actually ahead of schedule now. Mr. Hopkins, the chairman of our executive committee.
I just have a problem with one of your statements. I just disagree that the sky is the limit.
That is true, sir. So what would be the limit? We don't want to talk about limits. That's right. No limits. Very true. Ad Astra. That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, two things. I was talking to an attendee from Goddard Space Center. I think his feelings were hurt. He
Oh, no.
wanted to know why on Thursday there was no tour of Goddard. And I told him, well, the chairman hadn't had very long to work on this conference. And maybe because people didn't necessarily have cars, the way
Yeah.
this works with the metro system.
That's a very good point.
But I just throw it out for
Okay.
another thing that one can do on a Thursday.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think we had, we talked about some tours, potentially and we thought about Air and Space. We said, well, but people are gonna be going to Air and Space for the gala. So, that's a good point, because they're doing some interesting stuff up there with, the RRMS, RRM, yeah, the RRM program. Sorry.
But my other question is about policy. You want to be responsive to events and get things out promptly, not 20 months later when everyone has forgotten about the event.
Right.
But on the other hand, we have a policy committee, and it meets and it deliberates, and that's not always responsive. How do you see walking the line there between putting something out yourself and working with the policy committee?
Yeah, I think, you know, we try to stay within the bounds of the intent of the policy. Like, we would never put out anything that you know, that would take a hard, fast stand on something unless that's been vetted through and voted upon by the policy committee. But, you know, there's sort of a broad box that we can stay within. And I choose my words really carefully in that regard. I can't control sometimes when people don't write their words carefully. I mean, I can go back and ask that person to go fix it, but you know about retractions, you know, you never, I mean, they'll publish them, but nobody ever sees them. But yeah, certainly. I mean, it's a term that in the military that we call commander's intent. You don't tell someone how to get from point A to B. You don't tell them, you know, stepwise this way. You just tell them, I want you to be at B. And you figure out the way to do it. So, and that's the only way that you can operate in a military environment is by having the latitude to be able to make decisions, but staying within that box of commander's intent. So I kind of look at it as the intent of the policy committee and the broader NSS and try to stay within that box. All the way in the back.
Sir, in a nutshell, could you describe what the situation is with space-based solar power satellites? Where is the Obama administration and Capitol Hill on that issue?
Yeah, so we had some interesting programming on that yesterday, 2 days ago. John Mankins has some funding through a NASA study. There have been some talks at low levels within the administration. There haven't been any commitments. Part of what we had to work through, coming up on 5 years ago now, a couple of things, kind of working through the giggle factor and then working through, I don't know, sandboxes and incentives and things like that. And you know, if you put something out that's a better mousetrap than somebody, the person who's building the current mousetrap is going to get upset with it. So there were some folks who came out very strongly in a negative way. Some of those folks have moved on. Some of the newer folks are more open to understanding these things, but it's a process, and it is a process, and it's one of these things that you don't just say, this is a great idea, you need to get this to the president and in the State of the Union. I mean, there's a long path that things like that go, and a lot of vetting. But you know, we continue to work this. I have been a little bit out of touch with it for the last few months, but I know that Mankin's work is going on. The Japanese are continuing their work. We still have this initiative with the NSS and former president of India, Kalam, and I think that this summer we're going to try to get back into that and get that going. But that's critical. I mean, that was a key piece when the NSS signed that understanding with Kalam. So that's something that we can leverage. But certainly it's right there in our charter. I mean, it's right there in our vision. It's the second half of our vision, utilizing resources of space. So thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I've been involved in, the political action, for a number of years. And one of the past shortcomings of NSS, and I hope to see it remedied, is you show up on the Hill, and we don't have I haven't seen or heard or published well thought out footnoted position papers. I mean, if you go see a staff and you talk to them and you look through some talking points, that's great. But that's not going to keep, that's not going to last 2 seconds when you're talking to committee staff that actually are writing the bills and doing policy. And I like what I'm hearing, the focus on the Chief Technologist Office and CCDEV. Well, what I really like to see is some position papers published, and Ad Astra saying, here's our positions, here's why this stuff's going to work, and here's the studies that back us up.
Right. There are some things that are easier to get agreement upon, and there are some things that are a little more difficult to get agreement upon. But no, it's a good point. I mean, if you really do want to get through to professional staff and committee staff, you really have to do it a certain way. Otherwise, your leave behind is just going to be, the leave behind from this meeting is going to get covered up by the leave behind by the next half-an-hour meeting. And sometimes these staffers have these back-to-back meetings on a variety of different subjects. So somehow we have to, somehow figure out how to rise to the top. But we're talking about OCT and we're talking about commercial because we think those are areas where we can make really, really strong pushes and see tangible results. There's other areas that are a little more difficult to formulate a strategy for how you're really going to turn things around without because your end state is you really want to be effective. You really want to change or to influence the topic that you're doing. So there's specific things that we still need to work out internally as to how we're going to approach them. But right now we can be very, very active in a few specific areas that will see tangible results. Anyone else? Michael.
To kind of follow up on that, something that I would like to see is presentations teaching us how to speak to our lawmakers and policymakers, but at the same time, the layman man, in a quick, concise, intelligent way, getting our point across within a few minutes. We don't want to take up a half-hour meeting and bore them to death.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the art of the pitch, and I think Rick has probably kind of honed in on that a lot of if you get a half an hour with a staffer, well, let's just say if you get a half an hour with a member, that's going to be about an 18-minute meeting because he'll show up late and he'll leave early, and he'll be tuned in for about 2 to 5 minutes, something like that. And if you can't get it across by then, I mean, if you're sitting there building a story, they'll say, well, I've got to go to another thing, and you won't get to you won't get to finish your story, the most important stuff. So yeah, there's a skill to it, definitely.
So come to the Blitz
We do a training session at the Blitz.
Yeah.
But could we also have the training in Ad Astra, because a lot of us aren't going to be able to come to the Blitz, but could go to our local office?
You're recommending that.
Do we put anything out in that regard? That might be something to.
How about a YouTube video?
Yeah, That's what somebody said to me the other day. They said, you know, if you want to learn how to do anything, you just go onto YouTube and somebody's got a video showing you how to do it. So that's, you know, kind of, ooh, I almost said the L word. Talking to your members 101. That would be a good video.
Since about 1996, I have been pitching a concept both on and off the board, which has yet to go anywhere at all. I will pitch it one more time to a room full of people. The NRA, at least once a year, and usually more than once a year, raffles off a set of guns. Mm-hmm. The EAA, closer to us, every year raffles off an airplane. There is no reason within U.S. law that NSS cannot do a raffle for something like a zero-G flight, or a suborbital flight even. I contend that that would both generate enthusiasm within the organization and raise more money than the typical fundraising letter.
Yeah.
What keeps you inside the law is when you put out a set of 10, we will call them raffle tickets, within every issue of Ad Astra for a year. The ticket says $1 donation per ticket requested, no donation required. That's what keeps you inside the law. I would like a show of hands. If such a thing showed up in your issue of Ad Astra, would you send the tickets in, and would you send some money in with it?
With the chance to win.
It worked.
It's interesting. I mean, that it would be something that we wanted to do, but the example that you use of zero-G, we wouldn't want to get in crosswise with the Space Ambassadors program, which is zero-G is part of that, and those aren't prizes; those are assignments. The Space Ambassador program. So folks sign up for the Space Ambassador program. They agree to go out to the community and give space-related speeches, and then they have to keep track of the number of people to whom they reach, and then at some point we do a series, have these people come to ISDC, do a series of briefings, and then we pick the top 4 or 5 who then become professional National Space Society space ambassadors, and then they are given assignments. One of the assignments is to go fly with Virgin Galactic, and then come back and write a series of papers. Now that's not necessarily generating revenue, but it is generating exposure. We're actively in the next year looking for additional sponsors for that program, and maybe some mainstream sponsors, so it's a way to do it. So that's all to say that the raffle idea is a good one, but we wouldn't want it to duplicate anything that we're doing with the Space Ambassadors program. Now I will say that if anyone's connected with NASA or JSC or the Cape, if people can come across any kind of shuttle memorabilia, and they're willing to donate it to the NSS, that's stuff that you can do a raffle or you can do an active bid on. I've seen some of those things get bidded very, very high. But yeah, it's definitely a way to raise some.
The point of something like this is that no individual needs to come up with a lot of money to pay for things.
Yeah.
When you are bidding on an item, that's a whole different ballgame, because you have to come up with all the money to meet the bid.
Well, we'll take a look at it. You know, I'm amazed that sometimes these things are seemingly very simple, but they have some very interesting legal issues underlying them. So yeah, we'll definitely take a look at it. Was there one, Ronnie?
Several members have mentioned Ad Astra, and I don't know if this would be a question I can direct to them or go through you, but about electronic Ad Astra.
Okay.
So, about a year ago.
Do you want to come up, Ronnie? You want to just come up to the podium? Get the stage.
All right. Hi. I'm Ron LaJoy, Chairman of the Internet Services Committee, and for about a year we've been working on a electronic web-based version of Ad Astra magazine. We started deploying it about 6 months ago, but we've basically been in an alpha test mode. We're now ready to promote it. It's been live. If you go to the Ad Astra site, nss.org/Ad Astra, in fact, the current issue is now available. This is an exclusive membership benefit. So even though we hand out the paper version, you have to be a member to see the electronic version. All members see that. So if you haven't seen it, there's a link on each issue page that says View Electronic Edition. So please do that. How many have kind of accidentally come across it so far? Take a look at it? Okay, so only a few of you. So please do that. That is your benefit if you're a member. If you're not, that's one more incentive to do so.
A link from where?
The link from the Ad Astra page is on the website. So if you go to nss.org/Ad Astra, or just go to nss.org and pick on the Ad Astra link, that takes you to the Ad Astra section. There's, David Brand Erickson has been putting as many back issues as we're allowed to put up. And we're going through a service. And so one thing we definitely want to hear back from is how your experience is with the browser of your choice. And plus, especially if you have any mobile devices, iPads, et cetera, what your experience is, so we can get that tallied up and determine if this is the best service for that product. So, thank you.
That's right. You know, that was one other point that I kind of skipped over here on my list. Some more IT and website stuff we're going to start looking at and seeing how we can make that better. That actually does it. So I want to ask you guys some questions because, you know, we have to get the feedback from the members just about what you're seeing, the services that you're getting. One of the things we would ask you to look for, you get a series of reminders in the mail when your membership is coming due for renewal. We want to make sure that that's actually happening in the tempo that it is happening. So if you see problems like that, if you know that you're supposed to expire, you know, at a certain month, and you still haven't seen a letter telling you, asking if you want to re-up, let us know. Let us know if there's problems with that. I mean, again, this is a process of us trying to update a lot of these processes, maybe shifting towards doing some things more on the electronic side of things. Another question: how many folks use the NSS blog on the website? How many people visit that? Yeah, fewer than I thought. I go on there and you know, the blog posts are put up on there. They're timely, they're relevant, they're current topics. But I very rarely see comments on there. Which one of the fun things to do is to go onto a site like NASA Watch, which is, you know, there's some good information there, but it's kind of informative and sometimes entertaining to look at some of the comments. But by virtue of the fact that I don't see a lot of comments, leads me to believe that maybe people aren't reading it as much as we would like them to do. So that's probably a note for us, because I didn't see too many hands go up. So that may be a note for us to figure out how to bring that to a little more prominence. Any more questions?
That's open to the public, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is. That's all on the public site.
What's the status of this the Space Ambassadors program? Because people who applied got an email right before the conference about a delay till next year, and I was just wondering what the.
Yeah, there's a number of reasons why it was delayed. One of which, Virgin Galactic is a lot further from flying than we had anticipated. We had anticipated that they'd be flying right around this time or shortly after. We don't know when they're going to be flying. We kind of get some, wink, wink. It'll be this time, but we figured, in consultation specifically with Virgin and some of the other providers, we thought that it would be more relevant to put out the assignments closer to when the flights would actually occur. We are reworking some things within the program. All of the, I assume you're part of the program. All of the credits that have been given so far are obviously going to continue. It's going to give people opportunity to do more stuff, but I think for the betterment of the program, both internally and externally, it was prudent for us to go ahead and do this in 2013. So I appreciate you being a part of it. And that was the one thing that I wrestled with, and I know that we all wrestled with, of pushing this thing back a year. But it was the prudent thing to do. Right here in the back. Oh, Bill Gardner.
Paul, you earlier spoke about broadening our appeals, and I've been looking at our program and the various activities of NSS. And see some things, and I wonder if anybody else might add to that broadens our appeal. for one of the legislative blitz, we've been talking about living in space elements that would be helpful to us here on Earth in terms of improving health care and health issues. And during the course of the conference, the student contest that we conduct has really brought forward the living in space concept because of the participation of the students in orbital space settlement design. And there's the guy responsible for that. He's going there. Hey, there's Al again. And I think there's really a sleeper element in us, because that's become a big part. We gladly welcome the students to our track Living in Space on Sunday. And so I'm wondering what else people may be seeing here would suggest that broadens our appeal.
So you're saying other programs that would broaden our? Yeah, I mean, I think we've already started on some of those things, like getting the exposure with on the Colbert thing. We've got a couple of other things queued up that I need to follow up on. I didn't mention the IMAX movie potential that we're working on. We've been working with a gentleman from New York City who produced an IMAX movie about 10, 12 years ago called Cosmic Voyage, and he sent me a DVD, and because I couldn't remember it, and when I watched the DVD, I was like, yeah, I've seen this. I've seen it twice. I saw it at the Smithsonian and at Kennedy. So he's approached us about a new treatment that he's going to do. It's called Walking on Other Worlds, and it's very much in line with our vision. So we're very, very close to closing a deal to enter into a first round of fundraising for that film. So that's an outreach program. But we've got a bunch of things queued up. There's one I'm still trying to follow up on. We got called about doing some sort of video bit for Delta Airlines, something that they were, or I don't know if, no, it was actually an article for their magazine on Delta Airlines. So yeah, there's a whole host of things that are queued up. Great, thank you. Yes, sir.
In terms of broadening your appeal, with all due respect, you need to be much better at social media. 2, you need to be much better at social media. 3, I'm not volunteering.
No, that's true, and it's true for the organization, but it's true for me as well, because, I mean, I just sort of entered into that world not even a year ago when I set up a LinkedIn account. I had a number of reasons why I wasn't doing the social media thing, not the least of which that I had a security clearance, and the less information about me that's out there, the better in that regard. But yeah, I'm coming along slowly. Bryce is gonna show me how to tweet. You know, honestly, I still don't get it, but it's a phenomenon. And you know, I was telling the board yesterday, and I'm sure they're all aware of this, but it's like, I was saying, you know, the kids on the street don't even use email anymore. It's all instant message and Facebook and tweets. And
We don't use LinkedIn either.
well, you use it for certain things, but that's a good point. Yeah, and I've actually been a little slow to adopt that. But Bryce, do you have some comments?
I can just say real quick.
Yeah.
If anyone here is interested in helping the NSS out with social media, be it Facebook, Twitter, anything like that, or if you know anyone who does, please see me. Please send a message to NSS, whatever. We know we need more work. We just need more volunteers. So if you want to volunteer and know someone who does, you would make my life forever.
Or know someone who wants to tutor me. I used to be one of those, what you call an early adopter of technology. I always had, you know, the latest technology and all, and somewhere along the line, I got passed. And it's hard to keep up these days.
Just a quick add-on to that. So we just ran a social media panel on the education outreach track, and Moon and Back has filmed most of it. And I encourage people to go check it out if they're interested in the comments that came from these experts in from across the space industry and also Thinky, because they have, you know, 500,000 people that they reach out to, and they have a lot of great lessons learned that we recorded, and they address that question of, we still hear people are saying that they don't get it. So I think overall it really can help with people's objectives if they want to use social media and understand it a bit better.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, I've been really trying to encourage a lot more young people to come and get involved in NSS because, you know, they have an intuition for this stuff that, you know, it's hard for someone who's, it's hard for someone, it's hard for an older person to make that paradigm shift, but it's, you know, if you grow up with this stuff, you can definitely take the lead in it.
Yes.
Voluntold. Go ahead, Ronnie.
From a, I'm also on the membership committee, and I handle a lot of the online forums. So, question for the young people is there is actually a transition going on away from email addresses, and I don't know if Twitter is becoming the de facto standard or not, but if it is, then please email membership, if you can, membership@nss.org, and let us know, because if necessary, we will add into our database the capability to store Twitter accounts addresses, and we'll put that on the online forums as well. Just let us know. So I really don't know when, if and when that transition occurs.
Yeah.
So don't write a letter.
Yeah.
Oh, the letters that we do get at headquarters are generally interesting, the handwritten ones, they're good. Yeah, that's right, jars of dirt. We received a jar of dirt at headquarters. I at least had the presence of mind when I was walking past it to like leave Tanisha a note and say, be careful when you open this thing, and I think Josh took it out to like the hazmat locker and had it blown up. It's just, you can kind of see, you know, you can see the telltale signs that, you know, it didn't say Unabomber on it, but it was just short of that. Alvin, you have your hand up. Yeah, go ahead.
As a follow-on to what Ryan was saying, that clip on social media will be up on the NSS website within a few days.
Great, good stuff. Okay. Yes, Claire.
You asked about ways to broaden appeal, and one of the tracks, there was a thing about the importance of art in space, or art relevant to space. And I know at this conference, there really wasn't a place to put an art show. But there are the visual arts, there's music, and maybe it's possible to integrate some of that into what we present here and to what there's available on the website. I know we've done some things, but maybe we need more.
Yeah, it's a different way of communication, because I think about, and I don't have the answer for how we do the same thing in the 21st century, but I think about the Collier's magazine back in, what was it, late 40s or late 50s, was it mid-50s? They say that singular thing was really what got people excited and drawn into space. Yes, sir.
Suggestion to perhaps make the Space Ambassador program more effective. In a number of other areas, I have created presentations, 20 or 30 minute long slideshows that anybody can give to a Rotary Club, a high school class.
Oh, great.
And I think if something like that were in existence, you'd have a lot more people who have half an hour to give a presentation than people who have a couple of days or even a couple of weeks to actually do the research and write their own presentation.
If they had a canned presentation.
So if that were available,
Yeah.
I think we'd multiply the number of space ambassadors. They don't have to use it. If they want to use their own, that's great. I would create it in such a way that it's easily modifiable. It can be a base, and then somebody can personalize it if they're interested in one particular area. But I think it could be very helpful to as a multiplier effect to that.
Yeah, and have some sort of associated training program with it. That's, yeah, having canned speech. That's very similar to the, JPL has their solar system ambassador program, and I was a member of that for a time, and they would send you materials. You know, a lot of time this was like excess, you know, pictures and things like that they would have from conferences, but they'd put it in a folder, send it to you, and you could build a brief just off of that material. And they also give you a little bit of training and business cards to hand out. So that's an element of our Space Ambassador program, and I think that we could probably build upon, definitely. John Strickland.
Yeah, to bring up, continue from what Claire and he just said, Claire's talking about his pictures, many of which already exist, and we want to put them on exhibit. And what he's talking about is presentations, that many of the pictures that we need for presentations don't exist, and our members either aren't artists themselves, can't create them, or they don't have enough money to pay an artist to create them. So we need to come up with some kind of a way of figuring out what are some of the really critical images that we need to actually show people what this really looks like in terms of like space operations
Yeah.
Well,
and so
thanks
forth.
to the 2 years of Space Calendar Art Contest, we do have the rights to use quite a few.
Yeah.
And so some of them
I mean, it's pretty exciting seeing the animations of Dragon, but now we get to actually use the real video of it. But yeah, certainly those things that haven't happened yet are ripe for depicting in artwork. Hang on, Nikki, you had a comment about.
I want to give you guys an idea about social media that I think would be really
Yeah.
good for the organization. Number one, I think you should develop an app. I don't know who's working on
Yep.
this, but so Spacecraft Technology Expo,
Yeah.
conference that just happened in
Yep.
LA. I mean, regardless of the conference, the app is itself and the way how the program was
Yep.
included in the app and the bios for the speakers. Not only that, you should adapt the TEDx model where you had some amazing talks in this conference.
Right.
So a great way to create content is you start releasing these talks, a few of these talks that you've videotaped through the app or, through your membership letters. And you release one every quarter or 2 or 3 every quarter, every 3 months, depending on, for most of the folks that weren't able to be here when
Right.
Roland gave the talk, you're going to be creating a lot of content and
Yep.
you're going to be building up, new membership and bringing in new expectations for next year's conference. So I don't know who's handling your social media, but that's something that.
Yeah, we've talked about the app thing a lot, and we actually talked extensively about that yesterday in the board meeting. Yeah, the app thing is something that we're definitely going to have to pursue. And I saw that app from the Space Technology Expo. It was awesome. It was like the program in your hand. You didn't have to look over to. I guess they had a physical program, but it gave everything that you needed from the program, from bios to the schedules to I even think like the room layouts were all in the app, and it was just a few touches away.
And
So
for the
that,
talks, you should look at the USC TEDx
okay,
app, which is really well.
all right. Did you get all that, Bryce? All right, cool. And your 2 volunteers, right? Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here.
I guess 4 or 5 years. Last year at Huntsville, they announced the dates for this ISTC here. And along about February, I got a reminder to sign up early and make my reservations. And I did that, and I showed up Wednesday night expecting this to start on Thursday as advertised, and nothing's happened. I ran into a family from Connecticut, a family from Ireland, a guy from Australia who'd all done the same thing, and they said, "Where's the meeting? It's supposed to start tomorrow." Nothing happened on Thursday.
Yeah.
My suggestion is, if you put out some dates, like for next year for San
Yeah.
Diego, fill the dates. Don't leave people hanging loose.
Yeah.
Well, they cost, like my case, maybe an extra $200.
Right, right. Yeah, I wasn't aware of how they pitched it last year as to the actual start date, but we started on Thursday night with the opening reception, and then of course Friday morning was when the programming started kicking off. I think up until just recently, the Space Investment Summit was on that Thursday. It's a separate registration, it's separate programming, but yeah, we'll certainly take that forward and make sure that we're consistent with what we're saying with the hard scheduled dates and staying consistent with the programming on that. So yeah, we'll definitely do that. Yes, sir.
It sounds like you're looking at some new initiatives like more proactive policy responses that go to the Hill during the year,
Yeah.
outside the Blitz, and some of these workshops with industry.
Right.
Is there any way of letting us be informed more about opportunities to help out with those?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the space technology thing that we did on Thursday, it was a little unique because it did come together fairly quickly. As I said, I was out on the road, I was soliciting input probably about 2 months ago, and it really didn't start to gel until about a month ago, and that's, a month to pull all that together is a short period of time, and to pull together speakers and things like that. But It's not the preferred method. The preferred method is to come rolling into the office tomorrow and start looking forward to ISDC 2013, a year out. And so, obviously we do rely very heavily on the volunteers, so certainly we'll be more responsive to that. Anything else? I think we're right at, we're a little past 2 o'clock. Holy cow. Are we all done? Mark gets the final word.
You keep talking about rolling in on tomorrow and get the stuff started. I don't see why you can't start this afternoon.
Oh, I am. I've got meetings all afternoon.
That means you can go down and pack up all the boxes.
Yes, there are. And Deb, can I put in a pitch for anyone to help you out if they're so inclined to help us? There's a big logistics footprint that's associated with this, and Deb's been running her combat operations center down there, and so now
Actually, Angela's in charge.
actually Angela. Okay. Okay. So Angela and her gang down there. Yeah. Yeah. Angela unpacked, moved an entire van plus, I think, of gear in here and by herself. Yeah.
I think we have a volunteer right here.
Big strong one.
We got 2?
Just come down to the Cherry Blossom Room after lunch if you'd like to help us out.
And I think there's M&Ms there.
You have comfy clothes, go put them on.
Even peanut.
Okay. Well, good. We'll see everyone again in 2013 in San Diego, but we'll see you right away virtually on email and in the news and all. Ad Astra. Hi. How are you? Oh, great.
That might be AM. Roger.